today I'm talking about my 5 least favorite old movies that I watched in 2022. And this is out of a total of 285 old movies. And lastly is Emma. This is a 1996 film starring Gwyneth Paltrow, and I did not care for it, mostly because of Gwyneth Paltrow. I could not believe her as Emma. I could not get over the giant hurdle that is her as a person. Because, you know, she's a snake oil salesman, but back then she was just the daughter of an incredibly rich man who wanted to be an actor. So, baby girl gets what she wants. This movie feels just like it. It just feels like a rich girl playing pretend. Doesn't feel like an actual actor doing stuff. I did enjoy seeing young Toni Collette. She was super adorable, and I really wanted to care for her character, but unfortunately anytime she was on screen, Gwyneth Paltrow was right there too, just being awful. And what doesn't help is I have seen the newer Emma, so I do know the story. And Emma's not the best person. She is very manipulative, and like she's doing it for, you know, their betterment, but she's also doing it for her entertainment. And that's a very fine line to walk. And Gwyneth Paltrow is just, you know, a terrible person, so yeah. Also, this movie looked less cinematic than the actual made-for-TV movie. Like, everything looked super, super cheap. The camera just sat there like this, just not doing anything. There was sometimes like maybe like a little push-up, but like it really wasn't anything to write home about. I kind of think this movie was just made because like the other 2 movies we talked about that came out the year before did really well financially, so the Weinsteins were like, hey, let's get in on that action and rush this into production. And then Gwyneth Paltrow heard about it and was like, hey, here's lots of money, make me the lead. And they're like, all right, and that's how it happened. Obviously, I don't know, but that's what it felt like to me. I couldn't stand this movie. I couldn't finish it. I don't recommend it. Fuck Gwyneth Paltrow. And lastly is Birdy. This one stars Nick Cage and the old scientist guy from Stranger Things. It doesn't really matter. This movie's not good. I feel like I've kind of rediscovered this trend that happened in the 80s / early 90s where Hollywood was like, hey, mental illness / people with disabilities are a thing. We should try to capitalize on them. Should we do any research into them? No, let's just make some shit up. And then they made a bunch of movies where they made some shit up, and a lot of them were seen as good then, but I really don't think are good now. Or were back then, but people just didn't know any better. So yeah, this is one of them. The premise is that this guy thinks he's a bird / wants to be a bird. It's really dumb. And then that's it. That's kind of the whole premise. It's just him and his friend existing. It's technically a plot, but I really didn't care. This movie's just dumb. I didn't like it. I don't recommend it. It's just stupid. That's my whole review. I don't care. It's dumb. And lastly is 2 or 3 things I know about her. This is another Jean-Luc Godard film, and I really just need to stop. I know that his movies just make no sense to me. Like, they are widely considered great movies that are inspirational, and they were a turning point in film history, but I just do not get them, no matter how hard I try. Like, every now and again I'll find one that I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't bad, but like 95% of the time, it's not a good time for me. And this is one of those times. The premise of this one, it's not really a movie. It follows random people, and while they're doing stuff, they'll just talk directly at the camera about something deep and philosophical. They'll do that like 2 or 3 times, and then like the camera will pass off to someone else, and then they'll do stuff and then talk philosophical at the camera, and then just keeps doing that over and over and over again. And I did not care for this movie whatsoever. I tried real hard, but it was just like, I was in school in a class that was in a different language. So yeah, I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of people out there who definitely do like it, but I'm not one of them, and that's unfortunate for everyone involved. And lastly is Borat. I get it. I get what they were setting out to do with this movie. I understand that. I did not care for this movie at all. I had to turn this movie off. It was just gross. And like, I get it. It's a satire and it's making fun of very specific things, but it's also just, I'm very glad that I didn't watch this movie back in the day. And now having seen some of it, I only watched like a third of it. I feel like I made the right choice and I feel like I didn't miss anything. I definitely got everything that I was supposed to have gotten from our culture's interpretation of this film. And I will add though that like, I do appreciate what Sacha Baron Cohen has done over his career, especially with like his kind of gotcha stuff, like what he did with Rudy Giuliani, like that was brilliant. That kind of vibe I'm more for, but what this movie did was just, And like, I've heard him speak about like the anti-Semitic stuff that's in this film and what the point of it is, but it's still really freaking gross. So yeah, no, did not like this movie. I don't recommend it, though I do appreciate Sacha Baron Cohen in general. And lastly is Part 3, the one with Jack Black. Yep, that's right, Jack Black is in this movie and he is the best part of this movie. This one's not good. So this one isn't actually based off of the book at all. This is from 1994 and the premise is that it's been a year since the last movie, even though it's been 4, and it's now suddenly hardcore the 90s, and Bastian's dad has remarried and Bastian's not happy about it, and his stepsister isn't happy about it. Now he's going to a new school where the bullies aren't happy that Bastian exists. So what does Bastian do? He runs away to Fantasia, but unfortunately the bullies discover the book and they figure out that he's in the book and they're like, we're gonna wreck everything. How do they wreck everything? By just saying that they're gonna wreck everything. That's it. They don't explain how these bullies are affecting the book, when in the 2 previous movies, the only way you could affect the book is just by talking at it, and they don't really do that. They just read the book. That's all they're doing, is reading the book, and that's wrecking everything. I guess because they're bad, but why would they wreck the book? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, from there, the now adult childlike Empress tells Bastian that he needs to leave Fantasia to go back to the real world to get the book back from the bullies. And then, when he goes back, some of the magical creatures from Fantasia come with him, but they don't end up in the same spot. They get spread across the world because reasons. So now Bastian has to go and find all of the fantastical creatures that came across with him. So in other words, most of this movie doesn't take place in the fantasy world of the movie, it takes place in the real world. Because that's what we all want in our fantasy movies, is to just be in the regular world. I hate this movie. This movie is so interesting because they make every wrong choice. I didn't actually finish this movie because I just got so bored / annoyed with it. The special effects look worse than ever. The premise makes absolutely no sense. What are you doing? I don't think there's a metaphor for anything. The villain of this movie is the Nasties, which is a group of bullies, which I don't get what that's all about. I mean, like, the arc that they're supposed to go on is learn to get along with your new family, stuff like that. But like, your other 2 movies were about grief and addiction. And now your third one is love your stepsister, but not in like the porn way. This movie is dumb and bad. Jack Black is kind of fun. He narrates a lot, so that's nice. But yeah, I really hated what they did with the rock monsters because they just kind of turned them into just a giant joke. Which, I mean, they were a joke before, but it's like now they're in like a cartoon character. And like the sense of scale is completely gone. Because whereas before he just kind of was like outside as rocks as in a mountain range, he's now living in just like a regular house, or like it looks like a regular house but rocks. It's like Flintstones, except he's a giant. So like, where is this house? I guess it's in a mountain, a really, really big mountain. Sure. And he's wearing clothes and his wife is wearing clothes and his baby's wearing clothes and it's all weird. And then he has a motorcycle and then he sings a song. I think it's a tricycle. And then he sings a song, which is dumb. He sings Born to be Wild. But then like, what's even more infuriating than the fact that he sings Born to be Wild is he doesn't even sing the title of the song. The song cuts out right before he gets to Born to be Wild. Like, it just stops right before there. And it's like, you're gonna do this song without doing the big thing that everyone wants to hear when they hear the song, is that part, and they don't do it. What are you doing, movie? So yeah, so I didn't like this movie. I don't recommend it. Watch the other 2, don't watch this one.